your mind should be a temple, right? And either
Yeah.
you're gonna let it be a temple or a prison. Once you know how to do it and you seem credible enough, right? And you can actually go out there and make it happen, like actually execute. Don't just talk theory, but execute on it. Then go find somebody who has the capital. If I would have told myself that I would be doing what I'm doing today a year ago, I probably would have, probably would have been looking at it a little bit different just because my mindset was completely off.
Yo, what up? What up, folks? What's going on? Y'all watching the Grind Ethiks Mixtape Show, and I'm your host, Victory, BX Supreme Promoter. Basically, nah, I mean, nah, I'm saying, basically, yeah. What up? What up? Thank y'all for watching the Grind Ethiks Mixtape Show. Yo, I'm here with a guest, a real estate investor representing Houston, Texas, representing the H. You know what I'm saying? The home of DJ Screw. You didn't know I know about DJ Screw.
Yeah.
um, my brother Elvin Bowen. Elvin Bowen, right?
It's Elvon Bowman, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, 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 yeah. What's your nationality? Are you black? Are you FBA? Or are you something else?
Yeah, I am African American.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
from
okay, okay.
America. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want my FBA brothers and sisters because I'm African and they really don't like me. That's a joke. That's a joke.
Uh-huh.
That's a joke. Because a lot of this, yo, a lot of this FBA versus African American versus African versus Caribbean thing going on is just
Yeah.
something to keep us melanated people separated. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
We all the same, right? We
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 all
all got
say,
the
yeah,
same thing
man,
going on.
yeah, man. So basically, so before we start the interview, I want to congratulate you on all your success, my brother.
I appreciate it. I do appreciate that for sure.
You know what I mean? Know what I mean? So tell us, since you're a real estate investor, what made you want to get into the crazy world of real estate investing?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna take it back. It kind of started when me and my wife, we had been talking, and we knew that we wanted to do something, to invest per se. We just didn't know exactly what we were gonna do. And so we started doing some, I guess just deep dive, if you will, and said, you know what, I think we want to do real estate, but we just didn't know exactly what type of real estate. And we had many different, I guess, ideas of potentially doing like condos and houses and whatever else, whatever have you. And at the end of the day, we kind of just eventually got, kind of narrowed down into our niche, and we said, yeah, we're going to stick to self storage and make that happen. And it's pretty much been full throttle from there.
Oh, so you never did like regular homes before, like single homes, multi-unit family homes?
Yeah, I mean, well, so we do technically we have a triplex. We do have one of those. That's my little dog here. Um,
What?
we do have a triplex, but we did not start there. No, we actually wanted to kind of jump all the way in because we've heard a lot of commercial and understood that commercial is just a lot better than, and I say a lot better. I'm not calling out anybody who does residential real estate, but commercial real estate is just bigger gains at the end of the day, and that's what we want it to be at, on the bigger side of it.
Okay, okay, that's cool. That's cool. So you basically do storages.
Yeah, self storage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was your first. That was your first line of your first commercial property was a storage, basically.
First property and first commercial was self storage. Yeah.
What made you want to get into that instead of you could have done a parking lot or office building? What made you want to get specifically into storage?
Well, yeah, I mean, we can get into the game because there's a lot of benefits in self storage specifically, and it really just depends on. I think the first thing would be it depends on how you want to exit, because I feel like there's a lot of I guess speculation around entrepreneurship and those kinds of things like that. But I know for a fact that it's not uncommon for someone to get into entrepreneurship to prepare to exit. Right, you're always looking at it and saying, I'm going to get into it now, and I want this outcome of it. So that's kind of how we were looking at it as well. And so our exit that we were looking for specifically was $1 million property. We wanted to be able to pull out $1 million equity, and through that we said, well, what type of property would it be, what type of asset class would it be, and then from there again just kind of fell into self-storage over time. But yeah, it definitely took some time to get there.
Okay, how long?
So we went. I mean, I could take it back if you want, because we didn't actually start a self-storage. I will say that, but I could take it back. So we went. I think around, I want to say it was like August or September of 2025 last year. I'm
Okay.
sorry, 2024. My fault. The year before.
Okay.
And we started around there, and again, we were like, yeah, we want to get into something, but we just didn't know exactly what it was going to be. So I spent a lot of time, me and my wife, we were just going in pretty much just underwriting is what it's called, but just running the numbers on all these different types of deals and trying to figure out exactly how the deals work so that we know exactly what we're looking for, and we can pretty much formulate what's called our buy box. And after we, had that buy box, then we were saying, okay, then we know exactly what we need to buy to get the desired outcome, and then we go from there. So that pretty much took a total of about, I want to say like 6 months. But like I said, since we didn't start as self-storage, we were actually looking into apartment buildings at first. That's where we were at, and we were, all in, on multifamily, thinking that that's what we're going to do, and then got under contract on a property out in McAllen, Texas, right around the south area of Texas. And we were on the contract on that property, went and did the walkthrough in person, due diligence, all that stuff like that, and realized, okay, we don't want to do apartments for a lot of various reasons. And that process from being under contract was about a month. While we were under contract, then we decided to back out of that. So that puts us at top of 2025. That was like January to February of 2025, or somewhere along the lines of that. Because like I said, it was about 6 months of just learning first, and then January to February. And then after February 2025, we went ahead and we migrated on to self-storage. So that was actually, it was this time last year that we actually settled on self-storage, and it's been about a year of doing everything to get here. So.
Okay, that's great. That's great. It seemed like self-storage is less responsibility than a whole residential building.
Yeah, no doubt.
Is it less? But again, you've never been fully into buildings, so you might not know. But it seems like it's. I don't know. It just seems like it's less headaches, less responsibilities to deal with the self-storage. You're not dealing with people. Okay, you're dealing with tenants. You're dealing with people that's occupying the space, but they don't live there. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, I think that's the main thing, right? So you don't want to have to deal with what they refer to all the time when it comes to real estate investing, especially on the residential side. They refer to tenants and toilets, right? You don't want to have to. If you don't want to have to deal with them, then you look at other asset classes like industrial, commercial, start to scale it up and stay away from multifamily or smaller multifamily. So again, we didn't want to look at that. So we did go on to the self-storage side, of course, of commercial real estate. But yeah, we don't really deal with tenants and toilets. Of course, we still have the tenants, like you said, that we will deal with. I mean, we've had our fair share. I can definitely recall a couple of stories here and there that we've had, especially over the last 6 months that we've been like actually in operation. But we don't have to deal with toilets per se getting clogged up and anything under the sun as far as what a residence would have to deal with. It's just pretty much people who come and put their belongings in a metal box and call it a day, right? So
yeah. How many storages do you have?
So this one, this facility that we bought had 196 when we bought it, and we did a little bit of shifting around. Right now it's sitting at 193. We just kind of condensed some of the units that we had into one bigger unit, and
I'm talking about as far as properties in general.
Oh, just the one right now. Yeah,
we one right now. Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
This one. Yeah.
Okay. So you say we have 197 units.
Yeah, well, it was 196. Then we condensed it down to 193 on this one property. So that's another huge benefit, of course, to buying commercial properties, specifically even self-storage, is because you get a lot more units out of it. So a lot more, if you will, you would have a little bit more margin on the back end, of course, if things were to happen to occupancy, that kind of stuff like that, where you wouldn't get that much safety net under residential, right?
So you do have 193 tenants or no? Or you still got some empty rooms or whatever?
Yeah. We still empty on vacant on a few units. Right now we're sitting at just under 50% occupied. But again, that's the beauty of
Oh,
it,
but
that we could
you're
be.
cash flowing though.
Oh yeah, no
You're
doubt. I
paying the
mean, our
bills on
break.
time and all that.
Yeah, 100%. That's how we bought it. We said we want to buy it with cash flow day one. That way, all we're gonna do is just kind of improve the operation, and then from there, the cash flow just gets better over time.
Okay. So you and your wife, y'all do real estate full time, or y'all both have a 9 to 5 job, or
So when we started this, we were both full time, 9 to 5, working, long hard hours, and then getting off, and then our 5 to 9 was doing this kind of stuff. But I still have a job. My wife now doesn't have the job, of course, because we're kind of both going all in on this. But I don't work full time anymore. I work part time. That way, I can still do some of this stuff here.
okay, that's great. That's great.
Mhm.
That's great, man. So basically you got two incomes, or you're not taking home the money yet from real estate.
Yeah. This is we just started, and then we like I said, we 6 months in, So we're the way that we set it up, because it's not just me and my wife, by the way. I mean, there's so many different ways you can get into the real estate game, and how we got into this one. We actually brought in investors, so it's not just us that are going to get paid out of the deal, of course. But uh, that being said, we've also worked it out with our investors that pretty much none of us are going to touch any of the cash flow, any of the anything throughout this first year, to pretty much stabilize it. And then once it's stabilized, then everybody can start getting distributions and everything. So that's the agreement that we had. So even if there was, huge amounts of cash flow per se happening right now, we're still not going to touch it unless we're going to work it out with them and say, okay, everybody ready for distributions? Let's get it.
See, that's what I like, yo, because people are too crazy about the cash, and the cash is worthless. It really
Oh
has
yeah,
no value. So at
no,
least you
no doubt.
owe, like I'll be more comfortable owing equity, owing something. You know what I'm saying? Because having your own real estate property is like having a bank.
Yeah, no
That
doubt.
you know what I'm saying? If you want to, and if you want to buy something else, you could put your property, your share of the property, you know what I'm saying, on collateral. If you wanna, you know what I'm saying, get some money from the bank. But like, yo,
There's so many ways to get into it. Like, especially when you start getting to like portfolio sizes like that. Yeah, you could definitely, big portfolios. You can definitely borrow against the portfolio. Obviously, you can do like refinances, those kinds of things like that. But yeah, there's so many ways to, like, say, when you have actual equity, you can build
yeah,
true.
equity is I like equity. I like equity over cash because equity is
Oh
real.
yeah,
It's
oh yeah,
real, man.
oh yeah,
It's not. What we call money is fake. I mean, we just playing the game here. We're just
yeah,
playing the game. I mean, I already like you already got. You already do whatever you got to do to pay your bills. You're not suffering.
mhm.
You're not. You
Oh
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So,
And then it's just the upside on the back end, especially when, like, the way that and the reason again why we got into the self-storage was specifically because contrary to residential real estate, when you buy, like, for instance, you buy a house, you're gonna buy it at whatever the value is, and then maybe every year it's like a 3% increase per annum or something like that, right? Or whatever they do. I don't know exactly how, but something along the lines of that, where it's gonna increase, and through your pay down of equity, it's also increasing in value. So you'll have both equity pay down and just all of that kind of working in your favor, but it's still tied to comps. So dollar per square foot, you're only going to be able to sell your house or whatever it's going to be, uh, only in your area based off of what the comps are showing. So if the house down the street is only 250,000, well, I don't know, because you in New York, right? But whatever the dollar amount is
yeah.
for the house, the comps, you're only going to be able to get that certain amount in the exact same area. But when it comes to commercial real estate, like I said, contrary to residential, your building can be worth whatever it is. It's based off of how much money you bring in, how much income. So it's a different game, because you actually get to force equity all day long, and it's not tied to the building next door to us is worth 500,000, but we could be worth 1.5 million. It really just does not matter. It's based off of how much income you bring in.
Oh, word. So it doesn't. So okay.
Mhm.
So it's not connected to the residential. You're
Yeah,
stuck. Regardless, okay. I
yeah,
understand. I regardless, your shit could be like 2 million, while the residential houses could be like worth just way less than that, right? So it
yeah,
doesn't matter
absolutely.
because it's a business. It's a
Yeah,
cash flowing type of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah, they're
operate.
just like two different. They work off of two different valuations, if you will. Like so, like I said, residential would be comps, and that's how they kind of value it. And then commercial is a quick formula is NOI divided by cap rate. And NOI stands for net operating income. So how much money you net. Um, Divided by the cap rate, which ends up still being the capitalization rate is basically, and I'm shortening that so cap, but the capitalization rate is basically the percentage, if you will. Like if you bought it full cash, let's say like that. If you actually bought the property cash, what would the return be? So
Okay.
in general, you can kind of think about it. If you bought a stock, right, you're gonna get anywhere from 7 to 10%, something along the lines of that. That's generally what it looks like, unless you're in, different types of areas have different cap rates, so they're not always going to be the same. But for instance, cap rate again. So NOI divided by your cap gives you the full dollar amount or what you should realistically pay for that property.
What is a cap rate for those who don't know?
Yeah. So that pretty much that explanation again. So um, again, if you buy full cash, then it ends up returning that amount, to you over time, if you will. So that's what the expectation looks like. Pretty much, almost like I said, there's so many different ways to look at it because every market has a different cap rate. So, for instance, out here in the Houston area, it tends to fluctuate, but it can be fives, low fives, upwards to maybe mid sixes or so. 5% to 6% is what that would look like. In New York, it's a lot, it's a lot lower, and actually I'll even explain that too. So the lower the cap rate, the higher the value.
Yeah.
The higher the cap rate, the lower the value. But the way that they help you out is, if you will, if it's a lower cap rate, the value gets higher, of course. But the lower the cap rate means that that type of building, or that if you bought the building, like that type of play is
Mhm.
is appreciation play, because you don't cash flow a whole lot because you have the loan is higher relative to what cash flow is going to look like, all that stuff, right? So if it's lower cap rate, it's worth a lot more, so you have to pay a lot more. You don't cash flow as much, that margin is gone, right? As far as cash flow goes, but you get the value, like you get the equity in, for lack of better words, yeah, you get the equity in the appreciation over time, because it's going to appreciate a lot higher and a lot faster. In per se, like New York, where buildings are going to be a lot more expensive just because it's New York,
It's New York,
versus
exactly.
maybe out here in Houston or in other smaller markets, you'll see it where that is flip flopped. So the cap rate is higher, but the value is lower. So I might be able to buy something lower out here, but my cap rate is higher. So that means that technically my cash flow should also be higher as well. So I get more immediate money today versus buying out. And again, in New York or any of these other big places like LA, you name it, all the big markets out there where, again, you're going to pay more for it today, but you don't get a whole lot of cash flow. You get a better appreciation. It's just a different type of exit, but I'm all about my cash flow today. I need that money paying me now. So we're looking at those things like that, where cap rates, generally, to kind of give you quick numbers on where that would look like I said, New York is probably going to be like maybe a 4 or so. I don't know. I don't really look into those markets, but I know pretty much what you could realistically expect. 4 or 5s range, low 4s. I'm sorry, high 5s. No, I'm sorry, I'm saying that backwards. High 4s, low 5s. New York versus Houston. Again, we could probably be at 5 to 6 range. I'd probably call it 6. And then other markets like name a market. I don't know. Just name a
Chicago,
market. Well, Chicago's still a little bit bigger city. It's
Illinois.
probably going to be similar. Maybe go anywhere outside of Chicago, maybe on the suburbs or something like that. Those properties out there will probably be like a 7 to 8, just depending on it, because they go again based off of where you're at specifically. But it changes a lot really based off of where you're at.
Okay. Well, this upstate New York. Upstate New York is kind of a different monster to a certain degree.
Okay.
The five boroughs. I don't know. There ain't no. The five boroughs is crazy expensive, but maybe like someplace like Newburgh. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Newburgh, New York?
Mm-mm.
Newburgh, New York is real fucked up, but it's a gold mine though.
Okay.
It's the story of Newburgh, New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened? I think it was in the 60s or 70s. They're supposed to do like a big development thing there, but something happened, and all of a sudden they abandoned mad buildings. The building's been abandoned for many years. Newburgh is like full of unfinished buildings.
Okay.
And stuff like that. It's kind of like a ghost town.
A lot of projects.
I've never been in Newburgh. Yeah, I've never been there, but it's I'm from the Bronx, and the Bronx is lower income, but the Bronx is doing better than Newburgh. The Bronx is the only you look at the five boroughs of New York, right? The Bronx is the only poor borough of New York. The only poor borough of the five boroughs. I thought Staten Island was the second, but Staten Island is thriving. Bronx is the only poor borough in New York, right? But it's thriving over Newburgh, New York, which might be a. How long Newburgh is from the Bronx? I'm not sure, but Newburgh is crazy. Newburgh but it's a gold mine. You know, it's cheaper out there. You know,
no doubt.
But and places like maybe Long Island, Long Island is considered the outskirts of the five boroughs, outside of the five boroughs, or it's considered downstate. I'm not hearing this terminology downstate. It's confusing the shit out of me. Long Island is kind of expensive. Westchester, kind of expensive. Maybe Syracuse is a little, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I know they got the college up there, so they'll probably be able to push prices and stuff like that.
There you got Elmira, which is part of it's next to the big jail. That's what Elmira is known for, but people live out there. People like regular residential workers. Yeah, but upstate New York is its own monster.
Yeah, I guess they're definitely a little bit different than like you said, New York proper for sure. So
yeah. But a lot of people have a misconception that you need a lot of money to get into real estate. You know what I'm saying? Do you need a lot of money to get into real estate? Yes or no?
No, I'm here to tell you right now, you don't need a lot of money to get into real estate, man. The way we got in, like I said, we got in with investors. So we set it up. Our structure was a little bit sophisticated for where we were trying to be at, if you will, but it still works. So many different types of structures. When you bring in investors, I don't know if you or your people have heard about it, but you got JV, which is a joint venture, basically, where you and somebody else come together, joint venture, make it happen, right? You can also bring on partners. Like I said, me and my wife we did a syndication. So you bring in, you can pretty much set it up however you want to. So the way that we syndicated was we bring all the know-how, and partners bring all the capital. So we didn't have to put anything into the deal because we know what to do, you know? So technically I would technically say that I brought nothing. All right. Then there's other things that I had to spend, but
you just looked for the deal. You did the secretary or the administrative work, call people up.
Absolutely. I did it all. I was talking to the brokers. I was,
equity. You put in sweat equity.
Exactly. Sweat equity, 100%. Now, like I said, I did put some money into the deal on the back end, of course, for other things that I had to do. Like we had to get our lawyer for the syndication, of course. There's all these kind of things in the back end, but that's where my equity went into, plus my sweat equity. And I didn't have to bring much of the capital to actually purchase the deal. And like I said, there's plenty of other ones out there that people have heard of, like seller finance, lease options. I definitely want to try those one day. But yeah, there's all kinds of different ways to get into real estate. But there's that big misconception that you gotta have all the bread and you don't, you know.
Yeah, you could literally be on government assistance, and as long as you have that
Hey.
that sense of networking, as long as you have this, and as long
Yeah,
as you
that's
have a voice, as long
true.
as you have the like I said, the willingness to network and the ambition, yo, you could come up with it'll take time, but
Yeah,
but you got no control over time. You just have to cope with the time. And
no doubt.
you as a person, anybody that's on government assistance, you can own your own, you know what I'm saying? You can own your own real estate, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
So
100%.
it's not even about, because I'm sure you have people that make more money than you,
Oh yeah.
but they scared to get into something, because a lot of people that make more money than me and you that don't invest their money for shit. NBA players,
100%.
NFL players are a perfect example.
Yeah.
Sorry to say.
I mean, because I started thinking about these things, and you know, I can't speak on what they're
Doctors,
gonna do with
lawyers.
pay money, but like I started thinking about that a lot when I really got into it, and I was like, now that I understand how to buy a deal and what amount of equity that it really takes to buy one, because I'll even break it down, right? I'm very transparent when it comes to my stuff. So, you know, we brought our investors in, and we raised a total of 150,000 to do it all between four other guys, and then myself and my wife, right? Which me and my wife came together. So all total 5 parties came together, put all that money in together to make things happen. 150,000 total. Of course, they brought majority of it, but the way that we broke it down again, that syndication was we call it the sponsor. We get 30% of the equity of the upside later on, right? They get all 70%. They get to share based on the amounts they put in. But all that being said, we didn't have to bring in nowhere near as much, equity to get into that deal. So again, since we know how to do it, they have all the money. Let's just make it happen. And you go in, and we're putting all in there. But again, that's just 150,000 that we used to get into the deal, right? But there's high earners out there making all kinds of bread, and I'm just like, if it only took me, 150,000, I'll even say it like this: it was 93,000 to purchase the deal, actually get the loan, 93,000, all in, everything. I got, closing disclosure, everything says 93,000, right? The other, what is that, 57? The other 57 went to all the stuff that we had to purchase, if you will, to upgrade the facility that we were buying. So we put an automatic gate on there because it had like a manual, pool gate you got to do yourself. So we upgraded it, put an automatic gate. We put a few cameras, around the facility, and we put in lighting. Those are the main things that we did for CapEx, and that was all in about 57,000. Everything together with a few other things that we did. So, for the most part, again, even then, 93,000 to actually buy the deal. I knew 4 people, that I worked with, and I said, hey, we could all bring our money together, 93,000 to go get this thing, right? Even if I alone, made that money, which I don't, right? I would still go do it, because I understand now that if that's all it took was 93,000. I know now I got to go figure out how to get the 93,000. It's not that difficult, right? I've already done it, and I can continue to do it in so many other ways as well. But yeah, that's all it really takes. Whether you have that in your savings or however you're going to get the 93, but 93 to get into the deal, make it happen.
Okay. Now, what about, do you need good credit to obtain your own property?
Yeah, that's a good thing, man. I've been looking into that one a lot, because that's something that I learned after I got in, right? So I got in, and my credit is not, today currently it is not, high end credit that you really want it to be at. Of course, I'm still sub 700s, right? But I know now that obviously the better the credit is, the better those terms can look for you, right? But I was still able to close that, by the way, with my credit, because I was the only one who did a PG on the loan, a personal guarantor, if y'all don't know. So I still had to PG on the loan, with my name, my credit, nobody else involved, because we didn't want to pull everybody's stuff. But again, even then, I had a sub 700, and they were still able to take that. So it doesn't necessarily mean just because you have bad credit that you can't get into it. There are so many different types of ways to do it. But I would definitely be an advocate to say that if you can get your credit better before you get into it, 100% go do that, because you have so many more things available to you to get into a deal for sure. So
Yeah, how long it takes to build up credit, man? Well, let's take it.
I mean, I could throw some game out to you. You know, we could like I said, we could do that now. I could say that for another day, but I mean, there's not a whole lot that goes into really fixing the credit. It's just really putting in the time to make it happen. Contrary to paying things on time and all of these different things like that. I mean, credit it's like a snapshot of your financial decisions from the past, but it's not necessarily a finite thing. Like, again, people have that misunderstanding that you got to pay your bills on time and slowly build your credit. Now, I work with people today, actively doing it, that I have personally worked with one of my clients. Actually, he's trying to get into self-storage, but I showed him how he can do some certain things to get his credit right, of course, and took his credit from a 651 to a 760 plus across the board, all three bureaus in 4 months. Nothing, nothing shady, nothing like that. It's the real deal is that if you know what the banks are looking for, you structure that profile properly, and then he can now leverage his credit profile to go out and do other things, of course, like get into the real estate.
That's cool. Yeah, because credit is it's basically, you might as well say it's money.
It really is. It's a tool. It really is. Just like money, it's a tool, right?
Yeah, exactly. What was I about to ask? What other ways to get into real estate? I know there's many ways. You don't have to name all of them, but you
I guess
named
I'll name
already. But
yeah. I'll definitely say, just because I think it was probably the best thing that I could have done for myself, of course, was definitely find a partner to do it all. Like if you that person who's young, scrappy, you're not even young, but you scrappy, you ready to go out here and make it happen. I would be the person to say, go figure out how to do it. And then once you know how to do it and you seem credible enough, right, and you can actually go out there and make it happen, like actually execute, don't just talk theory, but execute on it, then go find somebody who has the capital, right? Those are things that I did not necessarily do right off the bat because I was working backwards. I think a lot of people, when they try to think about getting into real estate, they'll think about, okay, well, if the property is the property that we bought was 650,000. So we said, well, if the property is 650,000, let me go try to figure out the money. Let me go make sure I got a loan or all these different things. I can figure out how to get to 650 or whatever, and then I'll figure out how to do the rest of it. But it's so backwards, and that's how I came into it until, again, I got that understanding. Was like, okay, first and foremost, if I can figure out how the whole thing works, then get in there, make it happen, and then I could go and find other people who have the money, right? And then if I can present them a credible plan and say, hey, this is how it looks, right? This is how it works. Let's put the money in, let's make it happen. I'll execute, and it's a done deal, right? And again, that's one way to do it. It's not the most preferred, of course, just because a lot of people say, first time deals, they don't want people borrowing money from others, but that really is just the name of the game. Like they call it OPM, other people's money, right?
When you double OPM, yeah, you know me.
Yeah, exactly, right. But that's real talk. Like OPM is the leverage that you have as a person.
That's exactly. If you want to, like, let's say, like even like you say, okay, I want to buy your house, I want to buy your business or whatever, or whatever you got. Let me take it. Let me go to my lenders or my group or my network of investors, and they know you, and it's okay, and it's okay. People know that. I mean, it's okay if like they already know that. Okay, you might not have your own money. They don't care if you don't have your own money to pay them. They totally understand if you have to get your money from somebody else. They understand that, because that's like you said, that's the name of the game. That's how it is. You know what I'm saying? But
like, use your example of a house, right? Where who's coming up today to go buy a $300,000 house, right? Nobody has $300,000, so you got to go to a bank and say, hey bank, I'm gonna put down 20-30% or whatever it's gonna be to buy this house. And they're like, okay, cool, yeah, I need 60,000. All right, make it happen, right? That is OPM. If you're gonna get a bank 60, they're going to give you OPM. The rest of that is all OPM. So that 240,000, you're doing that, or not necessarily you, but people are already doing that on a daily basis. Just start to flip that script and go leverage that on a bigger scale of commercial real estate. Do the exact same thing, but you can find again these creative ways to get in. Where let's just say again that 93,000 that I used to get into the deal, that came majority from my investors. The other, piece of the loan, like it's like 500 something, whatever, that is the bank, and we make it happy. You know what I mean? So it's just leverage.
Yeah, and the money that the bank pays you, you know what I'm saying? That's not even their money.
Exactly. That comes from other people. I mean, a lot of people just kind of wake up to that. Is that is not the bank doesn't just have that type of
money. Really, they don't have their own money. You know what I'm saying? They play with other people's money, invest other people.
Exactly.
As soon as you go into the bank and deposit your money, anybody that's listening to you don't know that they don't know. Well, if you don't know this, you go to the bank, you deposit your money right into the bank, right? Probably before you even leave the building, they already invested your money through the algorithms and stuff like that.
I'll tell you this. The time you invest, you put your money into the bank account. I walked in right after you and I said, "Can I take out a loan from you guys?" Right? I'm already working on it. As far as real estate goes, like that's just how they do, because they gotta pay the person who deposits their money. They gotta pay them back like a 0.01% interest, of course, right? Or whatever other products that they have out there. Some of them have money markets and CDs, those kind of things. They gotta pay those products back. So how do they get the money to pay you back if all you're doing is just putting it in there? Because it's not about just putting your money in there. People think that, okay, well, they have just a big volume of people coming to put the money in, but it's not about, that's not it at all. They gotta give you back a return. They gotta give you earned money on principal. So how do they get more money to give you? They gotta give it out to other people, right? So
that's like a legal Ponzi scheme.
That's just, they gotta do that, right? That's so with that understanding, if y'all, if people start to understand that that's how it works on the back end, then start to participate on the back end, right? Now you can actually start building wealth for yourself, for your family, keeping it going. And one day you look up and it's like, oh wow, big difference.
And you don't have to work that hard, man. As an investor, man, it's like everybody.
Well, I won't say that.
Man. I mean, you have to work hard, of course. Working hard is an ingredient, but but you use leverage though. But I'm from the Bronx. I'm from the hood. You know what I'm saying? And any hood, I don't care if you're from the Bronx, South Side Chicago, North Side Philly, North Side Houston, whatever. Yo, a lot of us have the misconception that you have to work hard to get more and more money, and that is not the truth. You're just breaking your motherfucking back. Listen, bro. I sacrificed a couple of. I knew that I was gonna interview you at 6 o'clock, right? Sometimes I stop working at 6 because I'm a street vendor. I walk around and sell stuff. So sometimes I come home 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5:30. You know what I'm saying? But I came home early. I came home like about maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock. Took a nap. I was like, oh shoot, I'm late. This brother's gonna call. Oh, it's still early. But I could do that because I don't really work out hard for money. Because bro, you know how much money I make a year?
No, go ahead, shoot.
I make under 40,000 a year. And they say you need in New York City to live within the 5 boroughs. You need 150,000 a year to live comfortably or to feel comfortably. That's bullshit. Comfortability is subjective.
Yeah,
it's subjective. First of all, I don't pay New York City rent, so my life is like almost like a walk in the park. Not completely, but it's almost like a walk in the park. I feel comfortable right now with under 40,000 a year, and with the little money I make, you know what I'm saying? I invest, whatever.
Exactly.
I got my little toy collection. Yo, you probably don't know this. This is a big thing. Do you collect toy cars or no?
No.
Okay, this is a big thing in the toy car collection, right? I know we talk about something different, but it's kind of the same, right?
Hey, man, this your show.
Yo, in the toy car collection world, right? you buy a toy, you buy Hot Wheels, Matchboxes, whatever, in Best Buy, not Best Buy, Target, whatever, or any 99-cent store, whatever, right? And you sell it online. People sell it online for more money, maybe $5, $6 after buying it for $1 and some change. And you know what I'm saying? Like I said, they go online and sell it for more money. But I'm from the Bronx, right? I'm from Bronx, New York. You're from Houston. I could put up my toy cars for sale. Same toy cars I bought from the dollar store. I'll put it up for sale on eBay or whatever website. You from Houston, you see my toy cars. The same toy cars I have that I bought from my neighborhood night, my local 99-cent store, they don't have it in your local 99-cent store. So you don't mind buying it for more.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's how the game goes in the toy car collection. So that's why people are making thousands, even millions in the toy car collection. You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm keeping my stuff. I'm keeping my equity. I never sold not one car yet. I could have, but I'm keeping my stuff because I got some nice cars. I got a few Batman cars too. I'm keeping. I'm not selling them bitches.
Hey, as long as you put something to work, right? Put that money out there, let it circulate. You know, velocity of money. You got to make sure that you get some, you get some. That way, you know, you're gonna end up making more money on your money at the end of the day.
Exactly. Even magazines. I collect old school magazines in good condition. You know what I'm saying? That's something that holds value. You know what I mean? Even though I don't make that much paper, but like I said, money is fake. When people go crazy over money, but really, money is not really money. Money is something that really appreciates over time, like real estate. That's money. Real estate is real money. Gold, silver, precious metals. That's real money. Commodities, like
it's a real asset.
Like socks, commodities, socks, fucking t-shirts, fucking tank tops, things that even though you use it up, is a used up thing. That's what's commodity, but it's still valuable than a fucking dollar, a fake ass dollar bill. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I had to learn this. Like, even in the midst of being a hustler, I had to learn this because a lot of people do what I do, and they still working hard for money. That's why I say there's not too much of a difference between a 9-to-5er and a self-employed person. They both have the same mentality in a way. I gotta get this money. I gotta get this money. I gotta listen, man.
Until you change that mindset about the money and where you're, for lack of better words, that relationship that you have with the money, until you change that, it just doesn't make any sense, right? People are over there chasing that dollar, but you know, they can understand, again, just put that to work. Let it keep working for you. Now you don't have to keep working as hard as you are to get the dollar. You know, it'll still come.
Exactly. And I learned it's not so much about how much money you make. How much, the question is, how much money are you investing?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Every year. It's not about how much money you make in a year. How much money are you investing a year? You know what I'm saying?
There are literally high earners that still go broke per se, right? You know, people are living paycheck to paycheck and all of that. You know, that just because you make a lot of money does not mean all of a sudden that you are set. You know?
Yo, I tell people, and people look at me like I'm crazy because you look at a lot of NBA, NFL players. Well, they're kind of doing it now. A lot of them, we live in the era where a lot of professional athletes are learning about financial literacy, but some of them are still spending their money like there's no tomorrow, right? And I tell people, when your favorite athlete, there might be a time where you can make more. When your favorite athlete retires, there might be a chance that you're gonna make more money than your favorite athlete.
Yeah, if they
because you make more money. Not because I'm talking about with the same money that you made for years. There's gonna be a time when you can make more money than your favorite athlete that's retired, or some people that love these actors, worship these actors in Hollywood. Some 9-to-5ers make more money than the actors, and we thinking they make more money than us. Some of them, Hollywood is fucked up. Hollywood still,
but they're people too. And again, if they don't understand the whole, the back end, if you will, of just how money works, and they're not investing their dollars and everything like that. I mean, I often come across T-Pain. I come across him a lot in his story and how that, exact thing happened where this dude was making millions, tens of millions, and just completely broke. I mean, went broke after all of that. He had plenty of money coming in, right? But was bad investments over and over, not really understanding, financial literacy as a whole, just spending money, not really investing that money. And, spending on principle it doesn't help because you can't actually create any long-term wealth off of that. And of course, like I said, went broke, and now he's understanding it now, but, it comes at a cost with all those dollars, and you don't want to have to learn that lesson the hard way.
Yeah, that's why I laugh, because street vendors are looked upon now. Where people put people, I saw street vendors, people, especially a lot of 9-to-5s, they look down on us. Some people might be like, "Oh, that's why I make more money than you." Okay, you make more money, and I laugh when people say that. Okay, but do you invest your money? What is that? Yeah. It doesn't matter. Because you could go to the club and blow all that up, and I'll still have my money saved up, because I still save cash. I'm not one of those business people that be like, "Oh, don't save cash." I still save cash. I keep it balanced. I save some merchandise and I save some cash because I feel like I gotta save cash. Because a lot of entrepreneurs. Matter of fact, I'm gonna ask you this question: what do you think about entrepreneurs that say, don't save cash, or saving cash is worthless?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you in my personal,
it's worthless, but yeah,
I'll tell you my personal opinion on that would be not to. I think I'm on the other end of that, where I don't want to necessarily save cash unless I'm doing it very specifically, because you got to look at the economics of it, right? So if I'm saving cash, the dollar is dropping year over year, as far as, deflation and inflation in terms of what's happening. So dollar value is dropping, year over year. That's also happening in the background. Plus cost of living is going up. So my dollar now is worth less this year than it was last year, right? So if I was to save up that dollar every year, but it's getting less and less, and I just keep hanging on to it, it's eventually going to be worthless. So you got to be able to combat that, right? I want to figure out a way to counteract, and so I wouldn't save the dollar. I would just put it somewhere else where not only can I get the value that it was before to stay either at least net neutral, or if not, I can figure out a way to make more on my dollar. But you got to look at it based off of that. So I wouldn't save the dollar per se. I would put it somewhere. So let's just say for quick reference, if inflation was at 3%, I'm sorry, if deflation, which I don't know the exact numbers, so don't quote me on it, but I'll just give you quick numbers of things that I can kind of help you understand it with. If deflation was at 3% every year, that means my dollar is worth less 3% every year. But if I was to put that exact same dollar into a high yield savings account, for instance, where it was technically it's worth less 3% every year, but I get the 3% return on the year, so it ends up being net neutral, right? I don't necessarily lose out. It gives me back that exact same amount. But when you go into something like real estate, where your return, even though your dollar is worth less 3% every year, the returns could be 20% plus every year. So you're making more than what you would have lost otherwise. So ideally, I wouldn't save the dollar. I would always put the dollar into something that's going to pay. Just definitely don't put it into a savings account or anything like that, because it's just not worth it. You're not really actually making anything.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What you was about to say?
No, that's it. Yeah, I was just basically saying, like, don't put it into something like a savings account, because you're not making anything on that dollar at all.
Exactly. My whole thing is, if I need to spend a quick couple of $100 as an emergency, or spend it on my business or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I want to ask you this question. I forgot what I was about to ask you, and I wrote this down.
You got it in front of you, or what?
No, really, I lied. I didn't write it down. Well, I wrote it down on my mind. No, I write questions down on my mind. My mind is like a notebook.
Yeah, that's good. That's why make sure to get it out too. Yeah, get it out.
That's why if you tell me a word in Spanish or in any language, I can remember it without writing it down on paper. But now my mind. But yeah, let me ask you this question instead. Uh, do you have your business under like some type of entity, or you have a holding company or LLC that you put your real
Yeah.
estate under?
Yeah.
Or do you
So yeah, we get a little bit complex because you don't want to like cheap out, if you will, on these kinds of structures and stuff like that. So the way we set ours up was we don't call it a holding company. We don't call it a holdco. We call it our ops company, an actual operating company. So our LLC up there is operating everything as a whole. So when we're looking at the business of real estate, there's things, especially when it comes into self-storage, because it's not just real estate, it's also an active business. We need to be able to market, right? So we gotta be able to put out ads or push out those kind of things like that. So we need to have a budget for that. That's where all of that fits into it. So we have a department, if you will, that we created inside the operating company for marketing. We have central ops, if you will. Myself, my wife, we're actually thinking through all these things daily. We have property management depot. That's just our property manager who will run any property that we take on, all that stuff like that, that fits into our operations company at the top. Then, if you will, as a subsidiary, almost, there's another LLC that we use to purchase the actual piece of real estate. And so that is two separate LLCs that pretty much we did a lease agreement between the two. So the lease agreement says, the property is owned by LLC A, and my operations company is LLC B. A and B are going to sign a lease agreement between each other that says B is allowed to manage A, pretty much. And so that's how we keep the separation, of course, and you keep it going like that every time you buy a new property. Anytime you do pretty much anything, you don't want to ever just stack them all under one LLC or anything like that. You want to try to keep some sort of separation. That way, arm's length is what they call it, the arm's length.
Okay.
But there's so many reasons why you would do. I mean, like I said, we did ours specifically as syndication. One day, if we were buying it wholly owned, we could still do it like that. There's so many different ways to break that down, and other ways to structure it as well. Because you're talking about like holdcos, those things like that. I wouldn't do holdco so early on, but you could do holdcos, you could do trust, all those kinds of things like that. You could definitely go get into it, but keep it simple at the very beginning, and just keep it stupid simple. Kiss method.
I was thinking about starting out as a holding company because I want to buy different businesses as well as, I want to buy different businesses. I was thinking about just starting out as a holding company and be like, fuck it. But oh yeah, I remember the question. I just remember the question that I was gonna ask. I forgot.
Yeah.
What are the do's and don'ts of real estate?
Well, I'll give you do's and don'ts of self-storage specifically. Because real estate would be a little bit more broad, but I mean, honestly, yeah, do's and don'ts. Do's can be, as far as acquisitions go, don't get emotional. I'm sorry, I said do's. I meant don'ts. So don't get emotional about any type of deal. Like, just because it looks pretty, or you might make a lot of money, or this, that, and the other. Don't do all of that. Just keep emotion out of the decision making, especially for the acquisition, because you do not want to put yourself in a bad position, depending on whatever your why is or anything like that while you're doing it. You just don't want to put yourself in a bad position. So don't get emotional about it. I'd even say, yeah, I'll give you two of each. A don't. How about this? Don't. Actually, I'll leave that one for you. I don't know. For sure, no emotion. I would say I'll go to do's now, and if I think of another don't, I'll come back. But do, as you're underwriting it and everything like that, make sure that you actually underwrite with actual numbers, and base it off of today. So you get your OM is what it's called, offering memorandum. You'll look over that stuff and then pull out the things that are applicable to you. So most of the expenses are going to be seller's expenses. Put in your actual expenses. So go get a quote for your insurance, or go get a quote for, you name it. If you got to put something on there, go get a quote for it. So you have actual numbers based off of what it's going to be. Plug all of that stuff in there. Now you're working off of actual facts, not theory of it could be this, it could be that. Just make sure you do that, because you don't want to be in a bad position later on thinking based again, like I said, based about theory. Another do, I would say, do your research on the market for sure. If you're gonna get into it, because for me, for instance, I don't even think we said that where it's at, but I live out, the Houston area in Texas, and I bought out in Florida, so I'm 8 hours away from my property at any
Well,
given
I
time.
thought you probably was in Texas.
Oh no, I didn't buy it in Texas. I bought it in Florida.
Okay,
So
okay.
I definitely got to know the market, right? If I'm going to buy out there, I need to know what's going on. I need to have a full setup, if you will, of understanding this is what the market looks like. This is what it could realistically do. All these different inputs and outputs when it comes to buying out of state, out of your area within an 8 hours drive, or it's not within an 8 hours drive, but it's kind of far. So who wants to do that all the time? I need to know my stuff that way. Again, if I'm that far away, I can handle it, So
Because Florida is close to New York. Florida is really in the East Coast, but the Southeast.
yeah.
You're in the Southwest. You like
Yeah.
like you're not that far from California.
I mean, if you get closer to like El Paso, yeah, probably like a 8 to 10 hour drive or something like that. But I'm a lot closer to Florida than I am to California, actually.
Oh, where? You closer to Florida?
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, y'all closer to Louisiana also.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So what made you want to go to Florida?
I mean,
Buy property in Florida.
it was the deal, man. I like I
Okay.
said, like I like to look at I don't like to look at like market specifically. I just look at where's the deal at. As long as the deal makes sense, the numbers are looking good, and I can make the return that I'm looking for, then I'll buy it wherever it's going to be at, right? I'll get the infrastructure set up at that location specifically to be able to manage it away from the area. But yeah, 100%, I found the deal that I liked in the specific area, and I said, okay, I'll buy it.
Okay. Now, how often you and your wife go there to visit, to check up on a place? Every month, every 2 months, every 3 months?
Yeah. Well, we wanted to do every quarter. We kind of set like, yeah, we'll go and check at it every quarter. But since we bought it, we've only made 2 trips to it since we actually bought it. It's been about 6 months plus since we actually bought it. Total of, like, if you want to look at the total amount of times that I've actually been there, 3 times or 4 times. I've been there 4 times total in a year, but we've only been there 2 times since we actually bought it in the last 6 months. So
Who manages the place? Your partners? Or you
no,
have people
so
that you
yeah. Me and my wife, we do all the execution. That's us. That's a part of our operations company. We run all ops on the back end, especially we have our property manager. She takes care of a lot of the stuff, like online. So if she has to ever take a call, she'll do that kind of stuff, or any admin stuff, if you will, she'll do that. And then on grounds, we'll have our guy. We call it a boots on ground, but he'll actually be out there pretty much on call. If we need something, we'll say, hey, could you go take a look at this? Could you go do that? And then he'll show up when he can, and he'll have his little, task list of things that he needs to do. So it's a pretty tight operation that allows us to be hands off, if you will, but they can handle those things.
And they're not even working hard, that too hard, whatever.
Oh no, not at
But
all. Not at all.
But the dude, the checkup guy, he's from Florida, of course.
Yeah, he's local. I think he lives he lived right across the street at one point. I think he's since had moved away, but I think he's still within 20 minutes of a drive to the facility, so it's not that far for him either.
And your property manager, she live in Florida or she lives somewhere else?
She lives somewhere else. Yeah, she's actually a VA, so she's not even local to America. She's in Germany, actually. Yeah.
Oh, so she's a remote worker. You got a remote worker. Wow. Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great, yo. So you're not even working hard to maintain this. That's
and
great.
she's
That's great.
Honestly, she's the best, because she takes a lot of that day-to-day oversight off for us. And that was one of the main things that we knew going in, and we were like, yeah, we are going to hire, because like you asked me earlier, we started off working full-time at this, and so we were like, okay, if we're going to continue to keep working full-time, we're going to need to hire somebody else to do that. And that's a lot a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs don't like to do those kinds of things, but we knew that immediately. Like, yeah, we're gonna buy back our time is what they call it, and we're gonna hire somebody else to take care of those things that we otherwise couldn't, and it allows us to free up our bandwidth to focus on something else to make sure that the business continues to keep going forward. So yeah, we hired her straight off the rip, and she has been
Okay.
nothing but great for us. Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Uh, if I lend you $10 million, right? What would you do with it? $10 million to invest. What would you do with it?
I'm gonna tell you right now, that's a lot of money for sure. But I mean, you already know what I'm gonna do with it. I'm gonna find as many deals as I can make work with that. I mean, it's not necessarily about let me try to go find a whole bunch of deals per se. It's just right now I'm playing in the field, if you will, of like entry level operators where our properties that we're looking at are like sub $1 million. So if I could make it work, I'd probably just find $10 million properties and do it like that. Or I mean, I have the knowledge and understanding of how to operate at that next level, of course. So I could go and find like, five $2 million properties and so on and so forth. And you kind of, work it out that way. But either way, I mean, yeah, 10 million is definitely something just to be invested. That is not money you want sitting out and get it going into some sort of deal. Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay. So what's your definition of success?
Hey, that's good. Success, man, honestly, it's been I'll say it like this. Staying consistent and consistency and stacking small wins. That's the definition of success. Because at the end of the day, it can be relative to success can be relative to really what's going on in your head. But I would say, again, from my perspective, my definition of it would be consistency and stacking small wins together. Because at the end of the day, that's all it really takes. It's just to stay at it, right? Be persistent, keep it going, getting one win after the other, and eventually you look successful, or look successful.
Yeah.
That's success.
How important it is not to compare yourself to people? Because I know we see videos of people buying real estate or people coming from where we come from, buying real estate and all that stuff and having these rags to riches stories. And we look at this, right? And how important is not to compare yourself to other people?
Man, everybody's on their different journey. I'll definitely say that. So, if because I even did this, right? When I first came in, I would be looking at the other people, and I'm like, oh yeah, if they could do it, I'd do it too. But I'm also thinking about how they did it, and I'm like, okay, well, they had this, they had that, I don't have that, right? And it's not fair to you, right? You diminishing your own self, your own story unnecessarily. At the end of the day, again, everybody's gonna have their own story and what it looks like for them, but to each their own. At the end of the day, like, you're gonna come in your own way, make it happen. And again, if that's what you want to do, you're gonna make it happen. But don't be looking at how they did it or what they had to do it or anything like that, because again, it's just not fair, right? I think it's almost like having like that crutch to say, well, they had this, but since they had that and I don't, then I'm not gonna make it, or I'm not this, or whatever it's gonna be. And, I mean, comparing just I think I heard this before. Comparison is the enemy, or it's something like that. I don't know the exact.
Of joy.
Thief of joy, exactly like that. Comparison is a thief of joy, and that's the reality of it. Like, you don't want to steal your own joy. Like, you compare yourself to others, and it's just not the move.
Exactly. I feel like people to get too caught up in the outcome and too caught up in the glory. I feel like when shit is tough, that's the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
I told you this before on Threads.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the fun part. That means you're getting close to your goal when shit is tough. You're having a hard time finding investors. That means you're close to your goal. People are hanging up on you. That means you're close to the goal. The banks is telling you get the fuck out of here. That means you're close to your goal.
Like, if it was really that easy, everybody would have done it. And people have been saying that for so long, but like, when you really go through it, when you really go through it, that's just one of the things that you start to realize that it's just not going to be that easy. It's not going to just be handed to you. It's not just going to work the way that you thought it was going to work. All of these different things are going to come up, bro. That's just a part of it. And my wife says something that I really like is she says, you got to be comfortable with, you got to be comfortable. I'm sorry. You got to be comfortable with being uncertain or feeling uncertain, because that's all it is.
Like, being uncomfortable.
Exactly that too. Like at the end of the day, this is all uncertainty. Like I know when you get into real estate, you base it off of assumptions, right? That's what all underwriting is based off of assumptions saying, I think it could do this at the end of the day, based off of what my understanding is. So I mean, at the end of the day, like things won't go based off of your assumptions. That's how it is sometimes. And you gotta be okay to push through that uncertainty when it doesn't necessarily do exactly what you thought it was going to do, or it may take a little bit longer. But as long as you stay persistent, at the end of the day, you're going to get there. But many people will stop before they get there. And it's crazy to think about that, because it's almost like this thing that I heard before, where you can be, making that right turn, and you're going through a square, right? So you're making a few different turns, and you made it past a couple of turns already on that third corner, right, to make the last turn, and people will stop. It's like, why'd you stop? Like you had one more turn to get to finish out that square, and you stop. So definitely just keep persistent at the end of the day, because that's really all it is. Change your mindset. All of these things will start to happen. You stay persistent at it, you're gonna get to the end. It will happen.
It will happen, man. Because I ain't gonna front, man. This is well, it's not a confession, but I'll be looking at my environment, because I'm from the Bronx, and like, yo, like your area of Houston might be doing better than the Bronx. And I'll be looking at the Bronx, and I'll be looking at the people, and I'll be like, yo, this shit is so great. Like, what the fuck? It's like I'm in the twilight. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone half the time. But I blocked that out. I'm like, yo, anything is possible, because look at the great names that came from the Bronx. You ever heard of of course, Ralph Lauren?
Maybe
the designer, Polo.
I don't know.
Ralph Lauren, a fashion guy.
Oh, Ralph Lauren. Okay.
Ralph Lauren.
Okay.
He's from the Bronx. He's from the Bronx. What's his name? Al Pacino's from the Bronx. Scarface. Godfather. He's from the Bronx. J-Lo's from the Bronx. Yo. Chris Lighty, rest in peace, is from the Bronx. I'm like, yo, it's possible. And even from, what I'm saying, places like the low income neighborhoods in Houston, what I'm saying? Even in places like the suburbs, where it's mad boring, it's not really hood or low income class, but even boring ass hoods boring ass neighborhoods that might be high income, people are like, oh, I need to leave this fucking town. This town is fucking boring. Motherfucker, I'm trying to live in your town. I'm trying to live in a boring, high income town. You crazy?
Yeah. Well, low key, it's at the end of the day, it's really, again, it's just the mindset. If people will understand that, like you were saying, right, you're gonna block out all of that, because your mind it should be a temple, right? And either you're gonna let it be a temple or a prison, based on how you actually think about things, how you actually receive it, right? And if people just don't change that, like it's just that little tweak, all you have to do. Like if I would have told myself a year ago, even then, maybe a little bit longer than that, but if I would have told myself that I would be doing what I'm doing today a year ago, I probably would have been looking at it a little bit different, just because my mindset was completely off. Even though I knew I wanted to get into something, I did not make that full mental shift until even more recently now. And just even again, that alone has been all the difference, a world of a difference for sure. For me, just understanding that I gotta block that stuff out, like you said, and keep that away from me. And I gotta change my environment. If I don't like it, I go change it based off of that,
Yeah, great. That's great. I hear that. So, what other trials you went? Can you talk about the trials and tribulations you went through in your journey? Because we got to talk about the dark side. We can't just talk about the dark side.
No doubt. You can make all the millions in real estate, but there are some things that can happen for sure. Like I said, I think I told you a little bit earlier. We've had things happen at the property since we bought it. Two notable ones. I think one of the first things that happened was somebody called in and they were like, "Hey, I'm about to, file a police report that my ATV was stolen or something like that. And I'm thinking, I mean, how does something get stolen? Like, we just put in a new security gate. It has a
Yeah.
pin code, all these different things. We put up security cameras. So we had our managers, we had her going out there looking at all that stuff. And then I think the next day, the detective, he had called me up. We had a little conversation. And so it was just stuff like, pretty simply put, we were just going through that whole process. Now, as business owners, having to deal with the police, investigating, if you will, our facility, making sure that nothing actually illegally happened. And that has since moved on. Nothing bad happened, actually. So it was something different. I'm not going to get into it, but definitely we've had issues like that, right? Where people call in and we got to work with the local law enforcement. Same exact officer also hit me up probably a month or so after that. We had this big trash can, if you will, like a big box trash can for our people to be able to put their trash in if they're leaving out or moving out, that kind of things like that. And so we had it sitting off to a certain side of the facility at the entrance. And the entrance is technically the exit as well. So as people are pulling out, they could drop stuff off before they drive off. And the way that it's sitting, it's right next door to our, or it's right in front of our next door neighbor's house. But it's not like on his property line. It's kind of weird, but our property line like splits it right down the middle. But if he walked out his front door, he could look left and see the trash right there. So he had a lot of issues with that, and we had told him, we're not gonna move it just because you have an issue with it. Like, this is for our tenants, these different things like that. We need to have a trash can for them. And it's on our property line. We didn't have any issues with that. And he ended up calling up police on that one as well too. And the exact same detective who was working on the last day, he was like, "Hey, what's going on, Elvon?" And I'm like, what's going on? I thought you told me the last thing was closed. And he was like, "No, I got something else." And so we were just talking over that. But we've also had those kinds of issues where we had to get code enforcement involved. They end up moving our trash can, stuff like that. But for the most part, yeah, there are still issues that happen. It's not always, sunshine over here. That can still be rain 100%, because not to make those a problem per se, but if they could have went further, they always could. But at the end of the day, we just, follow suit, right? We're going to take care of business, make it happen, and then keep it pushing. So, there's always going to be some sort of problem that's going to come up. And I guess the best operators are just prepared to take care of it, make it happen, and move on and keep it going, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was about to say, have you ever thought about actually getting into another type of business other than real estate, or no? Or real estate is just too good. It's just
I'm gonna say, like, I try to regulate myself, if you will, because I want to call myself a serial entrepreneur, because I will always, like, if I'm looking into business, I'm like, oh yeah, I like that, let's get it. And I'll get shiny object syndrome real quick. But when it does come to self-storage and real estate specifically, I'm always going to forever be there. And like I said, I got to maintain that self-regulation for myself to say, okay, don't just go get another business idea going just because you like how it sounds or whatever. Keep doing what I'm doing, make sure that my processes and everything are repeatable. And once again, cash flow is solid and it's paying us back, all of these different things like that. If I want to then go look at something else, as long as this is good and it's not gonna, like, if I remove myself from it, you know how they talk about, like, if you was a real business owner or entrepreneur per se, you'll know you are really one when your business that you have created is no longer a job, but a business instead, right? Because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there where the business that they created is still a job to them. They're still actively in it every day.
They do. They're down and dirty with it.
Exactly. But if you really get it set up properly, you don't have to be at that business every day for it to run. And we're kind of halfway there with ours right now. We're not fully there. We still got some stuff to work on, but there are plenty of times that, again, like, our manager is able to take care of things so we could step out and not have to worry about the day-to-day things, if you will, which is more on the decision making. But I say all of that to say, the idea would be to make sure that you're set up just like that. And then if I was like that, where it's taking care of itself, and maybe even, you know, everything's still happening in the background. I can still go buy another one. All these things can happen, still run it, operate it, improve it, move on, and get the next one. If all that's still happening in the background, maybe I can say, hey, I'll go take a look at you know, something else if you know, I so choose. But the goal right now is just to make sure that it stays repeatable. And as long as I can do that and get that engine built up so that it just does this stuff itself per se, and I don't have to be actively involved every day trying to figure out what's the next deal, what are we doing, then yeah, that's the goal. And that's how I really want to have it set up.
Okay. One day I'm gonna write you a proposal. We're gonna buy a sports team or some shit. Yo, because talking about, because speaking of you talk about shiny objects, because I'm not materialistic. I don't know about you, but I'm not a materialistic person. But I look at different types of business, like how the average guy, especially from the hood, look at of shiny clothes or sneakers and cars and stuff like that. I look at businesses like that. Like I'll be fantasizing about buying a sports team.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
Starting a sports team. You know what I'm saying? Look at
You
the
gotta get
United
that
States
sports team
Football
money.
League. Look at the United States Football League. They're doing bad. Maybe we could buy it together. I'm gonna write you a proposal one day.
Okay, yeah. I mean, as long as you get that money, because I think that's one of the things that, like, so I kind of see what you're saying now. Like, I would definitely do something like that. Like,
I
if
want
I
to
know
buy a
this
sports team one day.
100%, I would definitely
Start
say
one.
for something like that is to, the goal, if you will, if you want to do something like that, I would set that up to where I would find something today that is like a cash printing machine, something like self-storage, where you can get into it, force the equity, pull out all of that, you know, equity, buy another one, and keep going, rinse and repeat until you have sports team money. And then you could continue to have that going on the end because you never sold it. You just kind of keep refinancing out, but you still have that on the back end, still spitting out money all the time. So the cash flow can help you take care of buying. Cash flow plus equity, of course, can help you take care of buying something like that. Like you don't necessarily have to, you know. I like to tell a lot of people that the goal is, if you're going to get into entrepreneurship, make sure that you cash flow. As long as you cash flow, then you can take the cash flow to go and do what you want to do, right? Go, if you want to buy a sports team, go take the cash flow or whatever else to buy and get into those things that you want to do 100%. Because if all of that failed, you still at least have cash flow coming in, right?
Yeah. Now you look at the USFL. I don't know if you're familiar with the United States Football League.
I don't really watch. I mean, when I really, you know, got into entrepreneurship this last
But
year.
they're not the NFL. They're not the NFL. I think they're doing bad. I think they're still doing bad. I don't.
Is that like the spring leagues, right?
It would take a miracle to resurrect that. But you look at somebody like you know about Ted Turner, right? The owner of CNN.
No,
oh, white. Ted Turner is the owner. He's the owner of CNN, right? Is he still alive or not? I'm not sure, but he started CNN, and he owns other situations. He actually owned the Atlanta Hawks, the basketball team, and he actually owned the Atlanta Braves when they was doing bad, and he actually owned different other situations that wasn't doing good. Like he was known for taking bad businesses, bad businesses, and resurrecting them and blowing them the fuck up. And you know
but that's the name of the game. Yeah.
I mean, would you actually do that or no?
Well, that's exactly what I'm doing with the self-storage facility right now. I mean, it's not apples to apples, obviously, it's not a team, but when you really look at the idea, the concept of what he's doing is finding a business that's underperforming and increasing the value. You force the appreciation. And how we do that, of course, is like we're buying the facility where we right now we're buying in $650, and we're going to increase the value by improving the operation. So it didn't have a automatic gate. We put the automatic gate. We put a website together, and we are able to manage if you will things online. The tenant experience is all online. Call center, able to take calls, all that stuff like that, and you lease it up, bring more people to move in, of course. And again, like I explained earlier, NOI divided by cap rate gives you the value of the facility, where if we pay $650 today, but tomorrow is worth double that, 1.3, now I have just done a full 100x, right? I have now doubled the value of that facility. So that's pretty much what this guy is also doing as well. All he does is just buy underperforming and then increase the value of it. And that's why I love to sell stores, because you're able to pull that
Yeah,
type of equity.
Yeah, a lot of people they like that continued cash flow. And especially when it comes to buying a business, they like that cash flow coming in. They like the history of the cash flow. But like you said, you kind of like resurrect the like on some Frankenstein shit.
Yeah.
I hear
But
that.
that's where the money is at. Like, it really is. Like, you go in and just increase the value. As long as you're able to do something like that, then yeah, you're pulling out all that equity on the back end and rinse and repeat. Put it into another deal or another 5 deals. Keep it going. Do the exact same thing times all of them.
Wow, you got a lot of patience, man. If you was a New Yorker, you probably won't have as much patience.
Hey, I got the patience because I know where I want to be one day, and I'm gonna keep working hard to get there. But it takes stuff like this, you know.
What's your ultimate goal? Where you want to be one day?
I'll say it like this, man. I'm gonna make $1 billion company. That's what we're looking to do. We want to have $1 billion assets under management. We'll call it like this: $1 billion assets under management by 2035. So that's what we're gonna do.
So you definitely gonna need a holding company, shit like that. You definitely gonna need.
We're gonna have a whole infrastructure, but that is the goal. We're aiming really big right now.
Yeah, when you think about the private equity companies buying up a lot of the real estates in America.
Yeah, well, it's like we were talking about earlier when it came to banks and what they do, right? They gotta put that money to use somewhere else, right? So that is exactly what private equities are doing as well. They gotta put the money somewhere. They buy massive portfolios of single family homes, that kind of stuff like that. I mean, that's one of the things that I've heard about, and you can kind of speculate with all things like that, but that's something else I've heard about with insurance as well. Very similar to that, but it's like they will give the money to private equity as an investment, and then private equity will go out and do other things with it, you know, invest in bigger things like single families and so on and so forth, or whatever they're going to buy. But I mean, the velocity of money, it just needs to be moving. It can't just be stagnant, you know. So it's always moving.
Can't be stagnated. Yeah, it's like yeah, you create like a blood clot or some shit in the body.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, where people that want to do business with you or maybe look at you as a mentor, where can they, you know what I'm saying, contact
you? I mean, you can find me pretty much on all my socials, EB underscore or at EB underscore the investor. And pretty much all of them link to the same thing. So if you get to my Instagram, especially, you'll be able to find it because I got a link tree where it just links to all the different things. We also have a self-storage community called the Storage Deal Room that we've also started, and then we aim to pretty much teach new people who are looking to break into commercial real estate investing, specifically self-storage, how to actually do that kind of stuff, how to get your first deal and start to create long-term wealth for yourself. And then, of course, we have other things out there to help you out, other resources, if you will, just to kind of help you on your entrepreneurial journey. So, yeah, you can follow me there.
Okay, definitely. Good looking brother for being on the Grind Ethiks Mixtape Show. Hopefully we do business one day, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna tell none of y'all when I do business with anybody, I'm not one of these entrepreneurs one of these business hosts or people that speak about business on their show. I'm not gonna tell you everything I got. I might show you my little toy car collection and my magazine collection, but I'm not telling you that I own anything or anything else.
You gotta move in silence. Move in silence. That's how you do. Yeah.
Nah, I can't do all that. Listen, you seen that movie Paid in Full?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it though.
Okay. I'm like that nigga Mitch when he was like, I'm broke, B. I don't got nothing, B. I'm broke. Anyway, thank you, brother, for being on the Grind Ethiks Mixtape Show.
Yeah, again, I appreciate you having me.
Peace, man. And remember, peoples, I always gotta say this. Tell a friend to tell a friend that it's all about the motherfucking grind, basically.